Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a controversial election promises fund has been probed again after the release of government documents. The Community Services Minister has admitted he needs to correct the record, but says it's not intentional.
The local Community Facilities Fund is back in the spotlight. Documents obtained by the Greens show $2.5 million for 111 promises was drawn from the Treasurer's Reserve Fund, rather than going through the usual budgetary process in Parliament.
Well, there are different ways to implement our promises. It's been funded and is consistent with the Financial Management Act.
That's so slippery. This whole thing has been secretive, untransparent and dodgy.
Communities Minister Nick Street, who did not establish the fund, had told Parliament all projects were funded through the 2021-22 budget. The projects aren't listed anywhere in the budget. The Reserve Fund itself is listed in the previous edition.
Well, they've had to go to a different source of funding, a contingency source of funding, which is not set aside specifically for community sporting facilities and grants.
The Greens say Minister Street misled Parliament.
I don't really understand why they'd want to keep being so dishonest about it unless they know that the whole thing is shifty and fails the sniff test.
The Community Services Minister says he would never knowingly mislead Parliament, but he would correct the record at the earliest opportunity. He says the government's intent was to fund projects as soon as possible.
As a government, we want to meet our commitments and to implement our promises. That's our job. There would be hullabaloo, wouldn't there, if we didn't meet our commitments and we broke our promises.
It's another question mark over a fund that has already been criticised as lacking transparency. Some promises have perceived conflicts of interest, while others weren't advertised widely. Experts say the way political parties make election commitments is at the root of rorting.
They think that they can allocate money and make promises during that time just to win votes, and then they'll fund it later.
Spurring on shady spending. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A working group dedicated to improving recruitment and retention in Tasmania's nursing and midwifery sector has met for the first time. Top health bosses and union representatives came together for the discussion as concerns to pull enrolled nurses out of aged care facilities remain top of mind.
Fired up frontline nurses took to the streets back in July, fed up at conditions as working woes reached breaking point.
There is an enormous amount of work that needs to occur to address these challenges.
The ANMF put forward their plan for a better future at the Strategic Nursing Recruitment and Retention Working Group today.
Certainly there was a commitment from the working group to work through these as quickly as possible with a further working group plan for a fortnight's time.
Taking steps in the right direction is crucial as the sector encounters a new speed bump, the planned removal of enrolled nurses in some aged care facilities.
We're continuing our advocacy with the federal government to look at ways in which this can be explored through the minimum care minutes.
The Premier has acknowledged the uncertainty, confirming he is aware of concerns that job security could be impacted by the Aged Care Royal Commission recommendations, saying, "I am committed to ensuring that every qualified Tasmanian enrolled nurse who has an interest has a pathway to a job in our health system."
We welcome the Premier getting involved in this Southern Cross care dispute, and the priority should be to keep those nurses in our aged care system where we need them.
Official pay negotiations with the sector are set to commence in the coming months as $2,000 pro rata payments are currently being processed for frontline health workers.
We want to support nurses and midwives with a very fair and mutually agreeable wage and a wage rise that recognises their importance.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor has questioned the progress of new social housing builds. A West Moona site is among those placed on a fast-track land supply order in 2018, but there's nothing built yet.
People are living in insecure, unaffordable and unsafe housing situations while this government drags their feet on delivering on their housing promises.
Housing Minister says a development application for more than 15 houses at the site has been approved. A new partnership has come to fruition with Launceston Airport teaming up with a renewable hydrogen project developer. Countrywide Hydrogen is planning to paint the place green with plans to develop a solar-powered facility in the state's north.
This could be the future of Launceston Airport, with vacant land occupied by fields of solar panels.
A project of this magnitude is unprecedented here in Australia, so this is a great news story for Tasmania.
This will be a first, not only in terms of large-scale solar in Tasmania, but a first in terms of hydrogen production complementing a venue.
Countrywide Hydrogen today signing a memorandum of understanding with Launceston Airport to explore the scope and size of developing a multi-purpose renewable hydrogen project.
It'll comprise hydrogen production, solar energy production, refuelling station, and then working with TasGas to blend hydrogen into the natural gas a brand new natural gas network in the TransLink precinct. That's an exciting development as well.
We've already identified some potential sites around the airport where we can produce the electrolyser facility, the solar farm facility.
The goal, to turn solar into hydrogen, a clean alternative to fuels such as diesel.
It's a very, very efficient fuel. You don't need a lot of it to go long distances, and to refuel it takes minutes.
Green hydrogen is the best of the best. It's not brown hydrogen, it's not blue hydrogen, it's not grey hydrogen, it's green hydrogen.
A green option for the road transport sector, allowing trucks and trains to fill up emission-free. And if given the green light, the project is expected to take 2.5 years at a cost of $50 million.
This will mean jobs for Tasmanians, up to 50 jobs in the development of such a project, but it will also help the state's emission target.
Preliminary planning is now underway with initial works to start this year. McKenna Bailey, 7 Tasmania News.
Hundreds of palliative care professionals have gathered in Hobart to discuss the sector and share their experiences. The Quality of Life Conference is run by Palliative Care Tasmania, with delegates from as far away as North America taking part. Organisers say the recent introduction of voluntary assisted dying has raised people's awareness of the profession.
Been a real increase in inquisitiveness within our community members about what broader services are available for people at the end of their life.
The 2-day event also serving as a launch for the state government's new palliative care framework. A new ad blitz is being rolled out by Quit Tasmania, using the power of family to convince smokers to butt out. Developed in Western Australia, experts say it's aimed at convincing people to consider the impact their choices have or could have on those closest to them.
Sliding into a dangerous habit at 15, 33-year-old Ari knows all too well about cigarettes. Smoking around 20 a day at his peak, the swings and roundabouts of life fueled his habit.
I found that when I was at work I really wanted to smoke, so I've never really had that urge to want to quit because I sort of found it as part of my lifestyle.
Those views, however, changed thanks to his son.
When I went out for a smoke, and to him he'd come up and say to me, "Oh, Dad, can you go out and have a cigarette so we can go outside and do something together?"
The impact on those around you, the focus of a new Quit Tasmania ad campaign aimed at tugging on heartstrings.
If you got mouth cancer, could you still talk?
Not sure.
That would be really sad.
We know about 80% of Tasmanians want to quit smoking, and we're hoping to give them those reasons.
Titled Worried About You, it follows new research which suggests family is a factor.
Which for some people will be the impact of reminding them about the impact of smoking on their family members.
It makes you realise what they're looking at through their eyes and how they're seeing it, so yeah, it got to me pretty quickly.
Looking forward to spending some more quality time with the kids outside. Ari is encouraging those considering packing it in to do it, saying you won't look back.
The benefits for your health, your back pocket, your family life, it's a no-brainer. There's just too many reasons to quit.
The campaign will begin airing on Sunday. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
A new 5-year plan aims to cement Tasmania as the world's foremost Antarctic gateway. Infrastructure investment, community awareness and polar innovation are listed as the key priority areas.
We want to work more with the international partners, for example, with Korea, Japan, France, as part of our trade and investment missions.
The Hobart Airport has had some significant wins with federal funding to upgrade their runway infrastructure, and Tasmania and Tasports are working very hard in their proposals to upgrade Macquarie Wharf.
The Australian Antarctic Division recently said the state was in danger of being frozen out if infrastructure wasn't upgraded. Hobart's iconic Christmas pageant is preparing for a grand return. Thousands are expected to flock to the CBD for the event on Saturday, where the big man in red will be joined by marching bands, dancers and a wide range of community organisations. Awards for the best entries will be up for grabs in what will be a tough gig for judges.
Definitely be looking for all that festive spirit and colour and that really engaging, I guess, draw card that brings people in and wants more.
We've just got lots of beautiful community groups, lots of diverse groups, all in their beautiful colour and splendour. It's the Hobart City Council's biggest and oldest event.
It marks 40 years of the festivities in the city. Free parking will be available at the regatta grounds and all council-run areas from 10:30. Well, ground has been broken on a world-leading recycling facility in the state's north. The $10 million project at Westbury will use unwanted styrofoam, supplying Tasmanians with building materials as well as the farming and fishing sectors.
Closing the Loop, a nation-leading manufacturing plant aiming to eliminate the scourge of styrofoam from Tasmanian landfill.
What we'll be able to do is the general public will be able to bring their TV packaging and things like that, put it in a box here, and then we'll deal with it here. So there'll be absolutely no need for it to go to landfill.
The factory will be so efficient, its owners expect to run out of polystyrene to recycle. Businesses will be able to buy packaging locally, cutting down on the costs of transporting the light but bulky material to the north of the state.
Because at the moment, we have to bring some of these products in from the mainland, and this will make Tasmania completely self-sufficient.
It's a welcome project for the region's mayor.
The infrastructure that we've got here, Westbury is centrally located in the north of the state, and this will be a great outcome.
Those keen to recycle but can't make the trip to Westbury can leave their polystyrene at their local tip.
Transfer centres will be able to bring it to us too. So if people drop it off at the transfer centres, we can pick it up from the transfer centre and bring it here.
It's expected the facility will be up and running in 7 months and create 15 full-time jobs once it's complete.
Well, this is going to be great for the whole state, not just us.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Very little went right for Tasmania at Blundstone Arena. New South Wales enjoying its first win of the Marsh One Day Cup at our expense. Matthew Wade's 42, one of the highlights.
The school kids threw down their picnic blankets on the hill, but the free lesson was coming from the Blues.
And a top edge.
Curtis Patterson and Dan Hughes combining for a 207-run partnership.
Short, and that's put away by Daniel Hughes for 4.
Some respite finally came when Patterson's eyes were bigger than his stomach, caught in the deep on 92. Hughes stayed alive to crack the century, but he also fell victim to safe hands, an awkward smack staying airborne just long enough for Nathan Ellis. With the destructive openers gone, Tasmania started to reel in the runaway train. Tom Andrews taking 2 wickets in the 38th over, the second a delightful turn trapping Daniel Sams.
Oh, hits the pads, it might be hitting the stumps, and it is!
New South Wales was desperate for every run. By the time Nathan Ellis caught his own sky-high delivery late in the innings, the Blues were on their way to 300. The reply was a disaster. Caleb Jewell driving straight to a fielder to go for 3. Ben McDermott was cleaned up for 6. The score, bad reading, but a commentator's dream.
And the Richie comes up at 2 for 22.
Jake Doran played a role, adding 23, but the real resistance came from the veteran, fresh from the World Cup.
And he goes again into the onside. Over the rope for 6.
Matthew Wade smashing urgently needed boundaries, but he had little support.
Oh, Andrews chops it on.
When Wade went for 42, the game was as good as gone. Tasmania thumped by 160 runs in New South Wales' first win of the year. Their shot at redemption 3 months' time after the One Day Cup's long break for the Big Bash.
Good evening. Hobart, Burnie and Devonport all 16 degrees today. Launceston's 19 was the high. 19 also recorded at Smithton and Bushy Park. Friendly Beach is 18 today. Low Head, St Helens, Grove and Strawn 17. The Bass Strait Islands 16 degrees. A few isolated showers over the west and south as the stratocumulus cloud started to cover the state and move around off the east coast. That low cloud also pushed over Victoria and eastern New South Wales. Thunderstorms were spotted near the WA South Australian border and over the top end. Tomorrow the high passes to our south and weakens. A cold front moves over the Bight and central Australia. Winds mostly southeast to northeasterly, 5 to 15 knots, more northeasterly through Bass Strait and to 20 knots there. Moderate flood warning continues for the Macquarie River, minor flood warnings for the Meander, South Esk and Cole. Tomorrow for Hobart, a top of 18 degrees and partly cloudy. Bit of cloud for Huonville, 20 the maximum, warming right up. 19 degrees for Campania. Launceston tomorrow, a top of 20 and partly cloudy. Devonport, 17 and 19 the high for Georgetown. Burnie expecting 16 degrees and partly cloudy. Strawn, similar weather but moving up to 20 tomorrow and 17 the top for Wynyard. St Helens a high of 17 degrees and partly cloudy. Bit of cloud over Swansea, 17 as well and 19. Just the chance of a possible shower over Port Arthur. Sunrise at 5:39 ahead of a very high UV reading of 9. On Saturday, showers developing over the north, increasing to rain before extending statewide. Showers continuing into Sunday, clearing the east in the morning. And on Monday, showers again more frequent over the west, far south and Bass Strait. Bit of snow to 600 metres. Further north and showers in Perth and over Adelaide in the afternoon. A sunny 23 in Melbourne. Fine for Sydney, 22 there and 26 and clear over Brisbane. And still a bit of cloud cover at the moment. 14 in Hobart, 17 degrees in Launceston and Devonport. A bit of sun shining and 15 right now. Kim, back to you for the last word, as usual.
The way it should be. Thank you, Murph. That is all we have time for, though. Good night.